Imagine this for a second. You have two cucumber plants. They were born on the same cool morning in April, in the same soil, under the same sun. They are twin sisters. But 12 weeks later, one of them is a green monster, almost 2 meters tall, so loaded with fruit that you had to add a second stake just to keep it from collapsing under its own weight. And the other one? Well, the other one barely reaches your knee, yellowing, sad, giving you fruits that are pitiful to look at. The difference? It wasn't a $50 fertilizer. It wasn't magical imported soil. It was something you have in your kitchen right now, probably forgotten at the back of a drawer, and it costs less than $1. I am talking about 14 kilos of harvest versus half a kilo. That is the brutal reality that no one talks to you about in garden centers. Today, we are not going to read an instruction manual. Today, I'm going to tell you why the fertilizer industry, that $200 billion giant, hates that you know this. We're going to talk about how a simple packet of baker's yeast can humiliate the most expensive chemicals on the market. And I am going to explain it to you straight, with the logic of old farmers who didn't have time for nonsense. But before you run to throw yeast at your pots like a crazy person, stop. Because there is a right way to do it and a disastrous way that can ruin your soil. If you stay, I promise that by the end of this story, you will never look at a bag of fertilizer with the same eyes again. Let's go to the facts, because numbers don't lie, and I don't like wasting time. The field notebook from this experiment is a gem of obsessive precision. The gardener noted everything. Day 7. One plant receives water. The other receives a fermented mixture of yeast and sugar. Only 900 cubic centimeters, just once, nothing more. It seems like a joke, right? But by day 12, the joke was over. The plant that only drank water, let's call it plant A, was stressed. Curled leaves, yellow edges, barely 20 centimeters tall. It was surviving, not living. But plant B, the one that received that shot of microbial life, was already over 30 centimeters. The leaves were a deep green, almost artificial in how bright they were. The gardener wrote in the margin of the notebook a phrase that says it all. Growing like crazy. Never seen anything like it. And here is where the story gets interesting. It's not that the plant grew a little more. It's that by day 28, the difference was insulting. While the normal plant had thin and fragile stems, the plant with yeast had a stalk as thick as a broom handle. When the harvest arrived on July 12th, the scale passed judgment. Plant A gave 3 cucumbers. 3. Less than half a kilo in total. Plant B delivered 9 huge, firm, heavy fruits. 14 kilos. A single watering, a single ingredient, and the yield multiplied by 3. How is it possible that something so stupidly simple is so potent? To understand this, we have to stop thinking like modern consumers and start thinking like survivors. This is not new. In the hills of South Korea, farmers have been doing this for generations, although they call it something else. They call it FPJ, or fermented plant juice. They don't go to the store. They compact wild herbs with brown sugar, put them in jars, and let nature do the dirty work in the dark. And not just in Asia. Go to the rural gardens of England. There, old gardeners have been fermenting comfrey leaves in water for centuries. If you have ever smelled that, you know it smells like hell, but works like heaven. That bubbling, that strong smell is the sign that life is happening. Even think about the dachas of the Soviet era. When there were no commercial fertilizers available in stores, handwritten manuals were passed from neighbor to neighbor recommending yeast ferments. It was the solution to scarcity. It was the fast and cheap way to nourish plants when the system failed. What I am telling you is that this is not a viral internet trick. It is an ancestral practice that connects the rice paddies of Asia with the cold orchards of Russia and the English gardens. Everyone reached the same conclusion. Live ferments do something that no bottled dead chemical can replicate. The key is in that word, alive. Here's where the science comes in, but I am going to explain it so you can tell your friends at the bar, not for an exam. Dr. Eni Kwan from the University of Minnesota saw it under the microscope. The organism is called Saccharomyces cerevisiae. It is the same single-celled fungus that makes your bread rise, but when you put it in the soil, it turns into a biological engine. Upon being activated with sugar and heat, these little fungi start releasing compounds. They are not just nutrients, they are signals. They produce hormones like auxins and cytokinins. Imagine they are like green lights for your plant's roots. They tell them, divide, grow, seek water, and the roots obey. They become aggressive. They start exploring the soil looking for minerals they couldn't reach before. And there is more. Dr. Mateo Alvarez, a soil microbiologist, points out something fascinating. When the yeast dies and decomposes, it releases its own bodies full of nitrogen and phosphorus directly into the mouths of the roots. It is a sacrifice that feeds your garden. In trials with wheat and sugar beets, this increased yield by up to 30%. And watch out, this works best in poor soils. If you have bad land, the yeast acts like a bridge. It unlocks the nutrients that are trapped there and delivers them to the plant. Also, it works like private security. By colonizing the roots, the yeast occupies the space. If a bad fungus or a pathogenic bacteria arrives, it has nowhere to sit because the yeast has already taken all the seats. It is a probiotic for your soil. Now, surely you must be wondering, if this is so wonderful, why don't they sell it in pretty bottles at the garden center? The answer is biology and business, and it is a bit cynical if you ask me. Yeast is alive. If you mix yeast, sugar, and water in a bottle and close it to sell it, do you know what happens? It explodes. Gas accumulates, pressure rises, and bottles burst on the shelves. Or worse, the yeast dies of starvation and the liquid rots. The industry cannot sell you life because life is unstable and perishable. That is why they sell you dead mineral salts. Those blue balls or those liquids that last 5 years on the shelf, they are stable, they are safe for business, but they are dead. And they charge you $30, $40, $50 for something that you can beat with $1 in your kitchen. They sell you convenience. Nature offers you power. So let's turn your kitchen into a lab. Forget expensive tools. You just need a clean jar. Take a tablespoon of active dry yeast. Any brand works, don't get fancy. Add 2 tablespoons of common sugar. Sugar is the gasoline. Without it, the yeast doesn't start. Now, the water. This is critical. 1 liter of warm water. Listen to me well. Warm. If you stick your finger in and it burns, you will kill the yeast. If it is ice cold, it will stay asleep. Find that pleasant middle point. Mix everything until the sugar dissolves and the water turns cloudy. And here comes the rookie mistake I don't want you to make. Do not close the lid tightly. Leave it loose. Fermentation produces gas, and if you seal it, you are manufacturing a small bomb on your counter. Let it breathe. Let it sit. 2 hours minimum. 12 hours is ideal. How do you know it is ready? Because you will see a thick foam on top, as if it were a freshly poured beer. That foam is the sign of success. It means biology has awakened and is multiplying. If there is no foam, either the water was too hot or your yeast was old. Throw it out and start over. It is cheap. But be careful, this is pure concentrate. Do not pour it on the plant yet or you will burn it. You have to dilute it. Take that liter of preparation and pour it into a bucket with 20 liters of clean water. That is the magic ratio. Strong to nourish, gentle so as not to harm. And use it now. Do not save it for tomorrow. The microbes are active now. If you wait, they die or settle. Now, if you want to go to the expert level, the garden alchemist level, you can add things to this mix. It is not mandatory. The base recipe is already a bomb, but if you want perfection, take note. Do you want bigger fruits? Add wood ash. Yes, from the fireplace. 1 or 2 cups of sifted ash into those 20 liters. Ash is pure potassium, but don't overdo it or you will change the soil pH. Do you want greener leaves? Epsom salt. Magnesium sulfate. 1 tablespoon. Magnesium is the heart of chlorophyll. It is what makes plants look that intense green that causes envy. Do you want hard stems that withstand the wind? Ground eggshells. Calcium. 2 tablespoons. The slight acidity of the fermentation will help dissolve the calcium and make it available. With this, you have potassium, magnesium, calcium, and all the biological power of the yeast. It is a complete superfood. But I want to be very clear with you. This is potent. And like everything potent, you have to respect it. Do not get excited and start watering with this every day. The golden rule is every 7 to 14 days. If you use it too much, you can imbalance the soil or attract pests. Start slow. Test on 1 plant. Observe it for a week. If you see it taking off, then apply it to the rest. If you see pale or wilted leaves, stop. Maybe your soil is already rich and doesn't need so much. Gardening is about observing, not following recipes blindly. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. You can keep going to the store, wasting money on plastic bottles full of chemicals that have traveled thousands of miles. Or you can take control. You can join that silent tradition of Korean, Russian, and English farmers who understood that the best technology is biology. We're talking about a revolution that starts under your feet. While food prices go up and the climate goes crazy, knowing how to produce 14 kilos of food where before there was only half a kilo is not just gardening. It is freedom. It is a smart decision. So the next time you see that packet of yeast in the supermarket, don't think about bread. Think about the life you are about to unleash in your garden. Put it to the test. Get your hands dirty. And when you see the results, when you have to put in that second stake because your plant won't stop growing, remember that nature doesn't need secret formulas. It just needs you to give it a little push. If you are ready to stop being a consumer of products and start being a producer of life, subscribe. Here we don't sell smoke, we share what really works. Thanks for being there, for questioning the established way, and for keeping the world a little greener. See you in the next one, and until then, may your harvests be heavy and your roots deep.